All right, welcome in. Good morning, everybody. It is 10 a.m. Wednesday, February 11th. Pitchers and catchers report that's been happening yesterday, today, maybe a few, not today, but we've got a lot of good stuff going down. A lot of cool, fun stuff that happened yesterday. A lot of last-second signings. Obviously, there's going to be some more to drag in, but very exciting time right now in baseball. It does feel a little weird not to be in Florida and to realize what my wife has had to put up with all these years, you know, the freezing cold, the kids, the dog. It's all real. But we're here and we're going to get into it. We're going to get into all of our baseball chatter and we'll have a little fun today. Thanks for hanging with me, everybody who is here today. And try to make the most of this. Let's get it going. New coffee today in my cup. It's a brand Say Coffee, S-E-Y, very highly rated on Reddit in New York. This one's a little nutty, has a little nutty, flowery notes to it, so it's not my favorite from a notes perspective, but overall I do like it, and it is doing the job here today. All right, so let's pop over to the main screen. I did switch us back. We're out of, I know it's snowy here, but it's not anymore down there, so waiting on all my new graphics and everything that come in for this next season, WBC, etc. But for now, we'll switch back to our classic baseball and coffee look for the moment. We'll get rid of our winter look since it is spring training officially, so we got to try to lean into that a little bit. Morning, folks. Hey, Adam, just noticed Kyle Teal's godfather runs Parkwood Deli in Midland, New Jersey. May have to go for lunch. So Kyle Teal is going to be on that Italian team. He also spent this winter catching my good buddy Michael King over in Jersey. So that'd be fun. We are very partial to the Millburn Deli in New Jersey, which is where my wife grew up. That's thebomb.com. So, well, I would love to check this out, though. Midland, New Jersey, Parkwood Deli. So I guess we'll have to figure that out next time we're down in the Dirty Jers. And I'm happy to see you, Carl. Thanks for hanging out. Good morning to everybody. Just giving it a second. There's a lot of signings to go over. Injury news popping up yesterday. Some teams had some press conferences, so we get a whole new dump of things that are happening and things that are important. So anyway, good morning. Good morning, Canadian baseball. Good morning, Victoria. Good morning, Actions. Good morning, RESX18. Buenos dias, Carlos. Good morning, DK Ghost. Tiberius, and everybody else. So here we go. All right, let's pop it off. We're going to start with the man on the thumbnail because he's a very famous baseball player. Honestly, I'm skeptical this is his last year, if I'm being honest. I don't think it is his last year, but it's the one and only former teammate of mine for a half season. The man with 81.7 WAR, the oldest man in the big leagues, Justin Verlander, goes back to where he belongs. I'm very pleased to see this. We were wondering if this would happen. We always knew it would be cool, and sure enough, he's going back to the Detroit Tigers, where he played from 05 all the way through 2017. So you're talking 12 seasons with Detroit for JV. He had 56.6 WAR as a Tiger. Obviously, we know what he's done since then. He was great for Houston. I pitched for the Metros for a little bit for us, and then Giants last year. He had a really good second half. This was maybe not a direct reaction, but probably somewhat of a reaction to Reese Olson being announced out for the season. But check out this Tigers rotation at the moment. Skubal, who completely, set the world on fire with his arbitration case, gets his $32 million. Framber Valdez, $38 million. So $70 million on those top two. Jack Flaherty opted back into his deal. Then they bring back the old dog, 43-year-old Justin Verlander. I love this so much. It's very cool. This is very cool. That, we got the lefties at the top, and then these three righties, all big pedigree righties too. Obviously, we know what Flaherty's capable of when he's right. Casey Mize. And now this is a way different team. I thought they had no starting pitching before. I was really worried. It was Skubal, and then it was kind of underwhelming. I mean, Flaherty, for as good as he has been a little bit underwhelming lately. Mize, they don't seem to trust him to go deep. But with Reese Olson going down and then bringing in Verlander, and they also having Troy Melton coming, which somebody mentioned here in the Uncle Ted, of course. What's up, Unc? Mentioned in the chat. They'll have Melton. They'll be getting Joe back at some point. But we always like what they do and the way AJ does their bullpen. And the offense was solid last year with McGonigal coming, and now this team's a real threat. I did see some projections where they had the Royals winning the American League Central. It'll be a good battle, but I like the Tigers right now. Tigers are taking a step forward. JV, I know he's 43, but the velo's still there. He's definitely going to help out. Let's go look at JV's season from a year ago. First on splits, before I even get into the StatCast stuff, just want to show like a little bit of his monthly progression here in the two halves. So here it is, first or second half on the game level. First half, he had 15 starts and went 0-7 with a 4.7. And then in the second half, he goes 4-4 with a 2.99 in 14 starts. So complete turnaround, harder to hit, less home runs allowed, and roughly the same amount of innings, a few more strikeouts, and same amount of walks. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't prime JV, but he did right the ship, and he did do a nice job pitching out of a lot of trouble and basically putting up some better starts in the second half for the Giants. Here's it by month, and you can illustrate it a little bit better here even. He ran into a little bit of a tough time in July, but was able to right the ship in August, 362 in August, and then a 2.08 in September, where it's really the best he pitched all season was September. 30 and a third innings in September, 7 earnies, only 23 punchies, a 1.088 whip. Somebody's mentioning in the chat that there was a platoon split situation here a little bit, so let's take a look at that. Versus lefties, 737 OPS. Versus righties, 736 OPS. So basically neutral, but generally he kind of dominates. He's pretty good on lefties with that high release. So now let's go and let's take a gander at his StatCast page. I'll talk a little bit about what JV does and why I'm a fan of this, even though he's 43. All right, number one, still throws pretty hard. 93.9. 94. Guy sits 94 at 42 years old last year. So it's enough velocity, especially when you take into account the extreme arm angle, 55 degrees. That's an outlier. He's one of only 3 pitchers that we know of. There's probably some more that don't fit onto the trajectory. Trey Savage, Justin Verlander on the high end, Tyler Rogers on the low end. Obviously, the Jays have 2 of those guys now. But JV's another guy, really hard guy to get used to because that arm angle is so high. What's interesting, and I remember talking to Justin about this because we used to hang when he was on the Mets. He's one of the rare pitchers in his career that went from a low slot to a high slot over time. He drifted upwards. Most of the time, guys start high and then they drift lower. He is, quite frankly, the opposite of that. All right, so here's the pitch mix that he worked with last year. 45% four-seam, 23% slider. That's the bread and butter, four-seam slider. He's really good at tunneling them. That's the thing that he cares about the most. How does the slider look coming out of the hand? Can you discern it from the fastball? It's a magic trick. You think you're swinging out a fastball, you're swinging out a slider. Then the curveball, this is his 2 speeds down pitch. This is a good change of pace pitch. Also pairs well with the fastball at the top. So between those 3 pitches and his arm angle, it's pretty traditional north-south attack. But he does a great job disguising it, and he lives usually on that glove side corner. He did up his changeup usage a little bit last year. It looks like 9%, and then he completely worked in this new sweeper, which is a new pitch for him. Let me go to him last season, see if I can't look at his last season usage by month and see if anything ticked up. So the sweeper came into play in July. It wasn't there before that, and he did kind of swap that out for the changeup in September to some good success. So probably we'll see him throw some more sweepers as this is all new for him. He's willing to adapt even at 42 years old. But overall, again, it's a four-seam, it's a slider, it's a curveball. Changeup was a big pitch for him when he was younger. He uses it sometimes now, but it's funny because his last Cy Young, he was almost all fastball slider. If we go back to his pitch usage, let me go back here for a minute. Go back to all seasons, pitch usage here. All right, so what was that, 2022? Yeah, he was 50%, a little over 50% fastball and 29% slider. And then he had the curveball as well, and there was nothing else. He was literally just a 3-pitch pitcher at the time. And now, obviously, he's had to evolve a little bit as he's run into some more trouble. In 2024, he tried to do it by bringing back the changeup more into the game, 10% changeup. And then this past year, he tried to do the same thing, ran into more trouble, and eventually went to the sweeper. I am actually mildly curious, just while we're here, to look what a decent Justin Verlander sweeper shape kind of looks like, because it's odd to be able to throw a sweeper from this side, from this height. That was a little backdoor piece. Don't get a lot to say off of that. There's a called strike to Jose Fermin. Everything's always going to look like it has depth, even if it doesn't, because of his arm angle. So, I don't know. I was curious to see what that looked like. Let's see what the shape on the sweeper is. What it averaged last year. 11.6 horizontal, only 1.5 inches of drop. You know, I don't mind it. If he can land the sweeper for strikes, he can probably throw the curveball under that. And that'd be pretty good. But again, it's really about the fastball. He's a notorious fly ball pitcher, but not in a bad way. And I like the fact that, Detroit's a big-ass ballpark. Cold there at the beginning of the season and at the end of the season. Should keep some balls in the yard for him. But overall, it's just a great story, probably the best pitcher in the history of their organization returns. So, very cool. Original drafted by the Tigers in 2004 out of Old Dominion. Second overall pick. Pop quiz, who was the first overall pick in that draft? And I bet that club wished they would have just picked Verlander and kept it moving. So, let's hop in the chat here and see what you got. For a completely deferred contract until 2030 is insane. Yeah, he's getting paid $13 million, I believe, with the Tigers, and 11 of it is deferred. Obviously, they're ruining baseball. But this is great for them. It's a low cost right now when they have such big costs in their rotation already. He doesn't care. He's probably the wealthiest player in the league. So overall, I mean, Shohei will catch him and Soto will catch him, but for now. And he doesn't really care. He doesn't need money right now, so he can just go in someplace that he wants to be, and I think this is great. Full circle stories are awesome. What else we got here? Will he get to 300 career wins? So where's he at now? I don't think he's that close. 266. It's a lot of wins, guys. I mean, that's 34 more wins. That would be 2 exceptional seasons, which he hasn't really averaged that many in a while, right? Let me go back to his overview. Just in the win category. I mean, he got 4 last year. He got 13 the year before. So he would need 3 more years of really good pitching to get to 300 wins. It's probably something he wants to do, but I can't say that it's likely. I mean, then again, he's been going this long. So every year now, if he throws a great year, it buys him another year. But who knows what the offers and what the interest really was around the league. I got to imagine he didn't have a ton of landing spots here, despite the amazing, overall resume, just because, he's not the same pitcher. He does have to work out of jams a little bit more. He does have to invent a new pitch on the fly. But either way, I think it's really cool. And the Tigers are going to be fun to watch. They're going to be fun to watch. I can't wait to see if their young guys can impact this team. But now you're looking at this rotation, and you got 2 studs at the top. And you got really 3 very interesting righties below him. And JV's knowledge is going to help with these guys a lot as well. Very smart pitcher, very good teammate, very fun guy to play with, especially as he's been older. This is an incredible thing to see. MLB service time, 20 years. He's over 20 years in service time. That's crazy. I think the most I'd ever seen on a sheet of paper was like 18, 19 years, something like that. But man, to see a guy over 20 is really remarkable. Yeah. And what? I did not see the Olsen news. That sucks. Yep, out for the season. He's a good pitcher too, so it obviously stinks. Could we take a look at what counting stat milestones Verlander might have on the horizon? So him and Max Scherzer have been in like a little bit of a battle for getting to the most strikeouts for their career, and it's getting pretty tight. Let me actually pull up Scherzer on the next page just to see where they are right now in terms of punchies. Scherzer's at 3,489. JV's at 300,553. Probably not going to get to 4,000 strikeouts. That's probably unrealistic. He's already past 550 games started. Obviously, the wins, we don't think he's going to get there, not at least this season. What other milestones could there possibly be coming? I'm trying to think what else he's getting close to hitting. He's already the active leader in wins, losses, games started, complete games, innings pitched, earned runs allowed, home runs. He's just been out there a lot. The bulk of his career is insane, but I'm not sure about other milestones. Maybe there's something else that I don't see. Might be hard to answer since they were both teammates, but if you had to win one game to win, who do you go with, Max or JV? Woof. I think the postseason track record actually favors Verlander. If you think back to those games where he pretty much ended the A's season back-to-back years, not to say Max isn't pretty good in the postseason, but JV, he's had some serious performances in the postseason. So I'm tempted to give him the edge. 3.58 ERA in 226 postseason innings, 17 postseason wins. I'm thinking back to this time period, like 2013 Detroit. It's hard for me to click on this. You can kind of see it a little bit, but 15 innings, no runs in that series. And then the previous year, there's one start versus the Yankees where it's like 8 1/3, 1 run. So I mean, he just straight up shut you down, schoolboy style, mad bum style, whatever you want to call it, style in the postseason at times. Has it been perfect all the time? No, but I would give him the edge in the one big game if they're both in their prime. I think I would give JV the edge there. I think that's fair. What's Max's postseason ERA looking like? Postseason pitching. 3.78, so it's similar. Less games, less wins. I mean, he's also had some remarkable appearances as well, destroying the Cardinals a couple years ago in the postseason and so on and so forth. But JV has some more that stick out in my mind. So I'm going to go with JV as my answer to that. He throws his slider a lot to lefties. Yeah, it's that bullet slider. He likes to ride the fastball and kind of make a lefty make a tough swing decision with that slider kind of boring in. One thing that was intriguing when I played with Justin that I loved, that I thought was so interesting, is he told me that he won the Cy Young. Let me just double check how many Cy Youngs he has. Does he have 2 or 3? He's got 3 and probably should have had 4 in that Porcello year. But he told me that he won the Cy Young 3 different times with 3 different slider grips. Now, they all had kind of similar action at times. I think they were a little larger when he was younger, but 3 Cy Youngs, 3 different slider grips should tell you a lot about, maybe figuring out who your best self is. I think a lot of guys in this game try to chase a previous version of themselves. Oh man, I was great then. I need to go try to mimic exactly what I was doing then. JV kind of shows you how you can evolve with what you need right now and try to become your new best self as time goes forward. And so I thought that was an interesting tidbit. 3 Cy Youngs, 3 different slider grips. Pretty cool. All right, what else we got here? Other than Seth Lugo, is anyone throwing a slurve? We actually saw somebody the other day. I think Casey Mize is down for a slurve. Very rarely do you see a pitch get classified as a slurve, but there are a few out there. All right, Spectre here. CEO is coming into my job today, so I won't be able to listen until later. Yeah, we're not going to get you in trouble. How's the throwing progression coming? Well, we're making progress. I'm fearful a little bit that we're running out of time, but I'm not giving up, and I feel like we're getting there. We're getting close. Arms starting to bounce in the right direction. I have throwing after this today, so Probably have a more definitive answer on this question next week. Verlander's win rate is going to get better with Ryan Walker not pitching after him. Yeah, Walker had a little bit of a tough go last year, which was kind of hard to imagine because he's so nasty, and he should bounce back this year. Padres refused to sign Verlander because of the money at the time. So did anybody get him in the chat here? Looks like nobody guessed who the number 1 pick was. It was Matt Bush, actually drafted as a shortstop, then goes to prison, comes back as a relief pitcher later, and pretty good one with the Rangers. But yeah, JV was the number 2 overall pick in that '04 draft. Of course, they would have probably loved to take Verlander, and if it was a money issue, shame on them. Verlander has, I think it's now been made clear that he's going to wear that Tigers hat when he goes into the Hall, which I think had value for Detroit on top of the fact that he's also pitching for them in an important season. I'm pretty sure Verlander has earned the most in his career. Scherzer's up there too. Yeah, they both are. I mean, they're both so rich. I mean, Max used to do this thing where he would like play in the card table at the games and he would like lose all his money, and then everybody be like, "Are you going to buy back in?" And he'd be like, "Hold on, I need to make more money." And then he would like blink twice and be like, "Oh, I made it back." And then he would like throw more money in the pot. That was one of the years he was making like 55 million with the Mets salary and then the deferred money on top of that. And it's just like, these guys are in a different level of earning. Obviously they earned it with the way they pitched. All right, what else we got here? Verlander should get 2 gold cards. They should just give him a suite at any ballpark he wants. All right, I'm just looking in here. JV is just bad in the World Series. He's good in the postseason, Max, not so much. So, yeah, I think I'm on the right track. I think it's fair for now to say I'm going for JV. Porcello in Boston. Appreciate it. Appreciate the love. Yeah, prison. Federal prison. And Matt had a tryout in the parking lot of a Golden Corral after prison. And yet, he got signed. Pretty crazy story. There's been some crazy ones. All right, so there's JV. I don't know. I don't think it changes a whole lot, obviously, with the ultimate projection of the Tigers. But it's exciting and it's fun, and I'm glad this happened. So let's move on to the next topic of the day. And before I even get into some of these other signings, because there's some other signings that happened, we should talk about some of the injuries that have been announced and some of the switcherooskies that happened. First, we'll focus on the Mets and then the Blue Jays, because those are obvious. And then you can throw some more things in the chat, guys, if you want me to talk about it, or things I'm maybe not aware of. I saw something with Jackson Holiday that I was not aware of yet. So that was interesting. This feels not up to date. Anyway, okay, yeah. So a couple things. Number one, Lindor has a hamate bone situation. This is very common. It's a stress reaction. This is one of those deals where they probably will just go ahead and have him get the surgery now, because he'll be back pretty quickly, whether it's opening day or shortly thereafter. Now, it's a little bit of a concern that he's a slow starter, and without spring training, it stands to reason that could affect him into May a little bit, his slow starting tendencies on top of this hand thing. But ultimately, you can't let this linger. If you lose him in the middle of it, is a problem. So, it sucks. But I've seen guys come back quick from hamates. A lot of it's pain tolerance. Once it's taken out of there, there's not really a whole lot more that you can do. You just gotta cover it up. I think Alvy, people have been talking about this a little bit. I saw my Discord. Alvy had the same problem, didn't ever really fully seem to recover. I mean, he did rake at the end of the year, but it's a process. It's a process, and it seems to be a little different for everybody. I mean, I played with a guy, Mark Reynolds, who had a hamate bone surgery and then just like played like a couple weeks later. So I think it depends, but this is a very common thing for hitters. And Lindor's tough as nails. I think he'll be back, but you can't let it linger. You can't let it linger. Stern says this has affected him for a while. Why wouldn't he have gotten the surgery sooner? What is with the Mets and injuries? So, yeah, this is probably a unique situation. And again, I don't have any inside information here, but If it bothered him for a while and it was not broken and it was just inflammation or something like that around the joint, they probably were thinking, a good offseason will heal this thing up. Then on top of that, he's starting to ramp up early, thinking he's playing for WBC. Obviously, that probably meant a lot to him. Everybody's kind of mum on that. Everybody kind of keeps quiet in that scenario. And then now, now that he's back in spring training, he's like, man, this thing still hurts. I better speak up about this a little bit. So yeah, maybe they were aware of it, but maybe didn't think it would linger like this, is probably my guess. So I'm not terribly concerned, but obviously it wouldn't be the start of Mets spring training without some sort of disappointing news, right? Of course. Call me crazy, but I'm not too worried about Lindor. Get the surgery done, get him back ASAP. That's the way I look at it. Just don't let it linger. Stress reactions can turn into, a lot of pain, and you can't have this guy out there playing with pain. It's hard enough to hit without pain. So, Jackson Holiday has a handmade thing too, apparently. Just got a notification about it. We'll check in on that a little bit later. Ozzy Albies had it, hasn't fully recovered. I mean, again, most of the hitters in the big leagues honestly have had a handmade thing. A lot of stuff happened when they were younger and you don't even know, and they're fully recovered and they're great. Sometimes it does linger longer, but every situation's a little bit unique. And I agree with Maya here. I do think Alvy did recover, but he had some other things to work on that kind of clouded our judgment on some things. Corbin Carroll will miss time with a broken hamate bone, also just announced. So I wonder why this happens early in the year. It's like almost like we ramp up too fast and then stress reactions come. You've seen it with pitchers at times too. I mean, Verlander actually, when he was with the Mets, kind of ramped up too quickly. And then he had, I think, a stress reaction near his lat or something. Trevor May had one like in his elbow. I've seen Tommy Kahnle have one. So sometimes the quick ramp up can be an issue with stress reactions, it seems. No, it's not from getting plunked on the hand. This is just like it's when you hit, there's a certain impact, and the handmate's just like this little bone in there that can definitely get just pissed off and inflamed. It's not very scientific, the term pissed off, but almost every hitter has had to deal with this, for sure. Okay, second part of the Mets news is that Juan Soto is going to be playing left field. That's already been updated here. I find that intriguing, and I'm not really sure why they're doing that. I didn't listen to the press conference, but I don't think it's a big deal. Juan Soto played left field before. This makes his throwing not as big of a deal. I think with the left-handed glove, a lot of balls slice towards the line, so your glove's on your right hand. A lot of balls slice towards the line, so your glove's already on you going that direction. You have Robert in center. Maybe he plays well to his right. He can go play some balls out there in the gap. I mean, Benj in right field. Does Benj have a cannon? What do we know about Benj and his arm? I mean, I've seen him hit. I know he's a great athlete, and I know at one point he was a two-way player, so I'm assuming he's got a cannon. Arm 60. So there you go. 60 grade arm. Makes sense to play Benj in right field. Take advantage of that arm strength if you're going to play him in a corner. So, okay. I don't think this is kind of a much ado about nothing type of move, but interesting that they announced it right away. And obviously they're doing it. Wow, look at this. Savant page is a joke. But I don't know. Interesting that they just get it out of the way. Obviously, Soto's down to do anything that they can do to win. And I think this is probably a smart move if you have a young buck with a cannon that's going to play right field for the most part. This was Soto's fielding last year. Obviously, it was a disaster. We all know he's going to be able to work really hard and work through some of these issues. But I do think it's mitigated a little bit by being in left field. Not that there aren't important plays in left, but right field's a big spot. You got to get the ball in, hold doubles, hold guys at second, not get to third. There's longer throws. Like I mentioned, it's a little bit of a different slice. With 13th percentile sprint speed, he's not exactly covering the line very well, plus having to go across his body with the glove. So there's probably a number of reasons for this, and it's not really worth thinking about it too much. But Juan Soto, our glorious king, will be playing left field now, just for fun since we're here. Let's just watch him hit an absolute nuke against the Phillies. Oh, Joe Ross, don't throw it there, buddy. Oh, We're so close to watching this shit. We're so close. What a stud. All right, so that's the Mets news. Now we got to get into some sad Blue Jay roster news that got announced right away. Santander, poor guy, long gone. He's going to be out for 5 or 6 months with a hip labrum surgery. It sucks. When we went over the Blue Jays a little while ago, I thought he was massive because they need somebody to hit behind Vlad Jr. And I know that the Jays fans haven't gotten to see it yet. But Santander's a really good hitter when he's right. Unfortunately, he has not been right at all with the Jays. Tried to play through some injury last year, didn't go well. Didn't he have a back thing, hip thing? I know that the team probably didn't know that it was going to be a surgery situation, but it really sucks that this is the outcome. Deciding on surgery the first day of spring training when in reality he could have got this done last year and maybe been more of a factor, quicker. Now it's looking like this is just a total disaster contract. Now, financially, it doesn't hurt the Jays. They're wealthy. They can handle this financial hit, but lineup wise, it does hurt them. Like, I know they made it to the World Series without him. I get all that. And I know that they've upgraded with Okamoto and they've done some other things, but losing Bichette and who's going to step up and be the guy behind Vlad? I was hoping, I was really hoping it was going to be Santander, but now it's not. Right now they got Barger penciled in there and we'll just have to wait and see. This is where losing Tucker really hurts too. Tucker would have been great behind there. I did see some, Brian from Alberta talking about Springer DHing. I mean, that's where they want him to be most of the time. I did see Schneider mention that, he'd been dealing with some shit last year and he's feeling better now and he will play some outfield. So it's unfortunate. Losing Bo, not getting Tucker, definitely going to hurt this lineup. And every little bit matters in this division. So I was hopeful that Santander could come back and make good on his promise, but now that he's out, that's a big deal. Also for the Jays, the rotation's a little bit of an issue because Bieber now is being slow played. Now, we were wondering why Bieber opted in when he did, because I thought he was in a pretty good spot to get paid really well after his showing coming back off Tommy John last year, but he obviously was a little worried about the condition of his forearm and how that would play in free agency. He stays. And now they are, in fact, slow playing him. I don't think he's in danger of like a new surgery or anything, but we'll keep our ears open and we'll see what comes out of it. But this is why you have depth. Suddenly, Jose Barrios, we need you, buddy. We never didn't love you. Please welcome back. Please, eat some innings for us, be really good for us, and then we don't have to make another signing. So they'll have Gosman, Cease, Savage, Barrios, and Ponce to start the year off with obviously Lauer as well as a potential option. And then we'll see when Bieber's ready. So I don't think it's like a huge, horrible day for the Blue Jays. Like they'll be fine. But then the question is, do they bring back a guy like Seabass or something like that, to try to create a little more depth here? But they're covered. They signed enough pitchers for the moment. Should be fine. I think this is an important point. Vlad can't afford to have a mid-regular season now. He needs to continue mashing like he was in the postseason. His 2025 regular season wasn't super great. I mean, it was pretty good. It wasn't incredible. Like, it's not his 2021 season. But, I mean, look at these numbers. It's hard to quibble with these numbers. The approach was outstanding. Fortunately, he just didn't hit enough home runs. He would look a little better if a few more balls went over the wall. I just need somebody that's capable to hit behind him because regardless of the numbers, everybody knows what this guy can do. Plus, he's not particularly fast anymore. So if you can pitch around him and have an easy matchup behind him, you're probably okay. So I just think who's behind him makes a big deal. It makes a big difference. Could be Barger, but I definitely wanted Santander to step up. I have a lot of belief in him, so we'll see. But Okamoto could be the answer. It would be righty-righty, but Okamoto could be the answer, and we'll see. All right, what else we got here in the chat? I'm back to just ask this last question. Who takes Corbin Carroll's spot in the WC? So if Corbin Carroll is officially out, is that in here? Well, real quick, just to read this thing about Reese Olson. This is totally sidetracking, but I just read this. So according to Reese, he knew he hurt himself last October, and he knew it was possible that he needs surgery, but he wanted to try to rehab for the next few months. And obviously that didn't work out, so now he got surgery. So that happens sometimes. And with pitchers, when it's a shoulder injury, You definitely want to try to not have surgery, so that's understandable. Anyway, what's going on with Corbin Carroll? Another handmade thing? Ooh, Jordan Montgomery. We'll get into that in a little bit. Let me just do a quick Corbin Carroll search move here. All right, so he's getting his handmade done right now. Sucks because now he can't play in the WBC. Let's go look at the WBC roster and see what this means. So right now he was penciled in and left. They do have PCA, and there's another outfielder they have out here, right? So the other bench players are Clement, Goldie, PCA. So PCA probably starts. Now they need to get another outfielder. I don't know who they're going to get, but this opens up a spot for another outfielder. I know they had wanted Bellinger for a bit. That didn't happen. But they're going to have to replace him. From a Diamondback perspective, like, it sucks, again, like, to start your season possibly without, your best player, Corbin Carroll. But you got to get these surgeries done right away. And ultimately, these guys usually are all right. But, yeah, it sucks. I mean, you want to have that big three rock and rolling from day one, and they're going to be out. They're going to be out of their best player, in my opinion. I mean, I know Ketel Marte and Perdomo might have had more WAR, but Carroll's so dynamic. What a game changer on the bases, too. All right, what else we got here? Jackson Holiday, Corbin Carroll, and Lindor all with broken handmates. So in the Jackson Holiday situation also sucks. I felt like this was maybe the year for him to take the leap. Former top prospect in the game. Leadoff hitter for the Orioles, but we're going to have a tremendous order. And now he's going to be a little slow to the party. Again, it will be fine long term. It just stinks. These are three electric players that we love to watch. So not really a whole lot to add there. But these handmade bones, I know maybe some people at home don't understand, but this is a very common thing for hitters. And usually once you get this surgery, once you're in the clear forever. But the recovery times do vary based on the situation. And not getting Tucker really hurts the Jays. I just think he would have looked so good behind Vlad. And now they don't really have quite the slam dunk, carved in stone answer behind Vlad, which kind of stinks. All right, what else we got? Help Adam, the handmates are spreading. Maybe move PCA to center and Buxton to left. Totally could do that. Totally could do that. Here's some info on Santander. Santander was resting and rehabbing November to December and was feeling good, but we suffered a setback in January and we started ramping up the hitting. I don't know what to say. I don't know a whole lot. I mean, I never had a hip labrum problem. I know that's a really debilitating injury for any rotational athlete, whether you're a pitcher or a hitter. I mean, Tulo had a hip labrum surgery. It was never the same after that. Brett's asking me for something, and I have no idea what she needs, so I'm asking her. Tulo was kind of less athletic after that. It definitely hurts you. Tim Lincecum had the hip surgery. So whenever you're rotating and you're like, need to be explosive in the rotational plane, I feel like if your hip's out of line, you got nothing. And hips, that whole matrix of hip, low back, lower core, pelvic floor, all that stuff's super important for feeling good as you get older. So this is not great, but no choice but to get it fixed. All right, what else we got here? Is Tyler O'Neill starting for the Birds? Looks like it right now. Maybe. I mean, if Jackson Holiday's out of the lineup, maybe not. Ward, Beavers, Cowser. Obviously, I think versus lefties, Tyler O'Neill being there a ton. This is kind of a sitting duck situation for late in the game. Lefty, 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 and then you flip around the lineup lefty. So they'll have two lineups for sure. Blaze Alexander will probably play a little bit. They have a freaking good team, man. Even their bench is like Mountcastle on the bench, O'Neill on the bench, Blaze Alexander on the bench. That's solid. Oh, wow. I'm not sharing my screen. I'm sorry, you guys. Okamoto really needs to be a guy for the Jays this season. I think so, too. Bo Jackson's hip ended his career. Now, his was completely dislocated. So he had like a total hip reconstruction. That's insane. Blue Jays fans here, don't bring up Tulo. I love Troy. I love Troy. But he was not as explosive once he hurt that hip. That's for sure. Santander is having left shoulder surgery, so it's a left shoulder labrum? Thought it was a hip labrum. My God, thanks for this info. I'm sorry. Shoulder surgery, also not good. Probably really hurts him hitting right-handed, because when you come off the bat, when you let go with the one hand on the bat and you just have the one arm and it gets extended, that's when your labrum can get hurt. That's kind of how I hurt mine hitting in Double-A. So it probably really hurts him when he's batting right-handed and has to finish with that left hand. I'm sorry, I was talking about hips. Thought it was a hip surgery. I thought it was a hip problem. Turns out it's a shoulder problem. Not that that's any better. Shoulders aren't great. I mean, obviously a hitter can deal with a shoulder surgery a little more than a pitcher, but man, this is such a bummer for them just with this signing. So, sorry about that. That bums me out, though. Sorry about that. Should have had that right. These came out yesterday. This is one of the things I was looking at for a minute, and I don't really care too much about projections, but it's interesting what the machine spits out. Like in the AL East, I saw it was like Braves, Mets, Phillies. So I thought that was interesting. It had like Royals over Tigers in the Central, had Mariners way ahead. But my bad, guys. I feel really bad that I went on a whole tangent about hip surgery when I thought that was the situation. I hear labrum. I'm not assuming a hitter has a shoulder labrum injury. So I screwed that one up. All right, we got a couple more signings, so let's get into those. First one I'll talk about real quick is former Northeastern Husky, Aaron Civale. And, you know, credit to the A's. Credit to the A's signing a starting pitcher. This guy is your quintessential innings eater, doesn't throw hard, great, really smart pitcher, big spin talent. Not going to win any Cy Young awards, but he generally makes his starts. Last year, he not famously, but he asked for a trade out of Milwaukee when he got replaced by Mizorowski. Ended up with the Cubs, kind of kicked around. Should get a good runway with the A's, and at least they have some adults pitching for this team. Not a huge strikeout guy. Has a unique little way of going about it. Cutter is the primary pitch, and it's a nice cutter. It's an interesting cutter with a strange combination of glove side break as well as rise. It's a good combination. It's a little bit of a unique cutter. Has a little bit more left turn considering how much it stays up, even though it's not very fast. He's good with it. If you watch him, he throws a lot of backdoor top shelf cutters to lefties, and guys swing under them quite a bit. That's his finishing move. Obviously, being a Husky, he's a guy I always root for. We exchanged jerseys. He broke my single season strikeout record, I believe, or maybe it was career. I don't know, one of the two at Northeastern. So he actually signed the jersey that way. Northeastern's all-time or single season strikeout leader, which I thought was cheeky. So I love that stuff. I love a little shit talking. But yeah, couple adults on the mound for the A's. Let's go look at the A's right now. Obviously, he's not going to jump off the StatCast page, but you know, with the lineup they have, they needed some pitchers, and I have to say, it's squint your eyes, it could be okay. Sevy needs a bounce back, particularly at home. Jeffrey Springs, we've always liked. Civale's in there now. Jacob Lopez was quietly pretty good last year, and Luis Morales is a young guy with some good stuff. So they need to round this out a little bit because they have such a fun lineup. They did sign Mark Leiter Jr. Scott Barlow was a recent signing, so they're trying to have some adults in that bullpen too. And they got to be a little more well-rounded. It would be a shame to have this type of explosive young lineup. Kurtz, Langeliers, Soderstrom, Rooker, McNeil, Wilson, Butler, Muncy, Clark. That's a fun team. That's a really fun time. That's a great time. So it'd be cool. It's cool that they signed Civale, and he'll make a little bit of a difference, just eating innings, keeping them more competitive in games, and let their offense take over. So excited to watch some A's baseball this year. That's really all I have on Civale. I don't have really a ton to talk about him with. He's, a little bit unique because he's not a very hard thrower, but if you watch him pitch, he's very prepared, very smart, and he's also a thick boy, especially that lower half. That lower half could feed families. So keep an eye on that when you watch this guy pitch. Be better, Adam. Kidding. Who knows what's going on with Santander's shoulder or legs? He's a dud. He has been a dud for Jays fans. I feel bad for him. He probably wanted to make good on that contract, obviously, but not the case. The A's are putting together a very watchable team, 100%. The A's, the White Sox. I mean, there's a bunch of teams that we were not watching last year that I promise you we'll be watching this year, which is exciting. I can't wait for the games to start. Let's get it popping. I've seen this question about Buehler. Not sure. He did show a little better with the Phillies down the stretch. He's going to be an intriguing free agent. One thing real quick, well, let me touch on Walker because I was with him last spring. First of all, I love this guy's energy. Awesome energy, very confident player. It shows why he was able to do so well in the postseason. Like, he's a dog. You know what I mean? What was intriguing to me is he got offered a similar deal that Sevy took last year with the A's last year. Now, maybe that has been reported or whatever, and I don't know the exact numbers, but I know he was offered a multi-year deal, very lucrative, with the A's, decided to take the 1 year, basically qualifying offer amount with the Red Sox to try to rebuild his value. I mean, he looks at himself as a top of the rotation guy. Granted, it's been some years since that's the case, but that was the gambit. And this is like, you hear about people all the time betting on yourself and then it works out. And everybody's like, yeah, bet on yourself. Well, this time he bet on himself, and it was a freaking disaster. Back-to-back seasons of disaster. It's 538 in his last year in LA. And then last year, 493 and 24 starts. Although, as I mentioned, he did show a little better with the Phillies. He's become a completely different pitcher. You see all the effort he's put into becoming better. He used to just be straight gas at the top, breaking balls. Now, I mean, look, fastball, cutter, sinker, slider, curveball, changeup, and sweeper. Like, he's got it all because he needs to have it all. And he needs to figure out who he is. And I think he's done a good job of trying to get there, but the results have not followed. I think there's a little bit of an execution issue at times with him that pokes its head out a little bit with Walker Buehler. I'm curious what Stuff Plus has to say about Walker Buehler's stuff and how it has shifted. Yeah, so it's a big difference. At one point, going back to 2020, had him graded as a 126 Stuff Plus. Now he's under league average. So this is what the teams are looking at. It's no longer a high upside thing with him anymore. Now it's more of a, what are you getting from him type of situation. So he's facing an uphill battle. I think he probably signs a low guarantee, but he's looking for a place where he's going to get his starts. It's going to be a low guarantee, though. So anyway, I just want to take a quick detour to look at Walker Buehler. He's one of the notable starters left on the market, and I'll be curious who takes the risk with him and where he ends up fitting. It's certainly not over for him. He's only 31, but he's going to need a bounce back pretty soon because it's been rough for a bit now. His last great season was 2021 with the Dodgers. So now you're looking at 3 straight years that have been a bit disappointing. Obviously, there's been some injuries in the middle there, but it's time for him to, get back on the right foot here this year. All right, what else we got here in the chat? A's lineup looks great. My sister's an art student. We're going to create a squirrel playing baseball sign for the A's Mets game. I think Jeff will love that, and I love that as well. Thank you, Canadian Baseball. A's going to hit. Not sure about the pitching. Apparently, Dodgers offered only $1 less million than the Red Sox last year. Shocked Zach Littell is out there. I think he's the best arm left on the market. Very underrated. I also am surprised he's still out there. Now, let's take a quick detour to look at the remaining free agent pitchers. Bassett, he's older, but I think for this year he'd be great. Giolito, Patrick Corbin, Zach Littell, Zach Gallen. So I think Gallen's the best pitcher left, but Littell's also quite good. Griffin Canning coming off injury. There's Tyler Anderson. There's some others. I'm curious what happens with Michael Kopech on the reliever side. Probably one of the guys who has a shot still at a multi-year deal, given his upside. But yeah, these are the kind of the remaining high-end starters. Bassett, Giolito, Littell, I would say, high-ish end. And then obviously Gallen, which I can't see him going back to anywhere but the Diamondbacks at this point. I guess we'll have to wait and see how that goes. I mean, you got to adapt to this. You got to adapt to the mound. And hopefully Sevy will show up with the right attitude and adapt to it. Maybe they'll fix some things. I think we're going to talk about the Rockies signings now. All right, Rockies made 2 signings yesterday. They were both announced yesterday, and they're both interesting. And it's funny, I had 2 different reactions. Even though they're similar pitchers in a lot of ways, I had 2 totally different reactions. The first reaction was when I saw Sugano signed, and I said, oh my God, this is a disaster. He's going to give up 1,000,000 home runs. Like, immediately go bet. If you're a betting person, immediately go bet on Sugano to lead the league in home runs allowed. He already probably led the league in home runs allowed last year. Now he's in cores. He doesn't get any whiff. Let me go look at Sugano's StatCast profile, because my initial thought on this was like, this is like, I get he throws strikes, but you put a guy who has contact issues in cores, and fireworks for the other team's offense usually follow. I love the fact that he was not afraid to sign there, and I think ultimately this is one of the things that they're going to experiment with at 20th and Blake is people with really low walk rates. It's super important when you're in Colorado not to beat yourself. You're already up against it, so you cannot beat yourself. So obviously an exceptionally low walk rate is something that's desirable. That's what Sugano has. The thing that's crazy to me is this K percentage. He's 6th percentile in K, 7th percentile in whiff, and that's at sea level. You put him in Colorado, he's virtually guaranteed to have 1st percentile strikeouts and 1st percentile whiff. So all these balls in play, as we know, balls in play in Colorado are bad freaking news. Not to mention, it's not like a ton of them are on the ground. And then you look at his pitch mix. Okay, split might be okay. Sweeper, it's not like he has a huge sweeper. Just the whiff rate on these pitches are not going to be great. I do think that, one of my thesis being a starting pitcher at Coors is huge pitch mix could help you be less predictable. You could maybe get some more called strikes, help you stay off the barrel a little bit because you have more of a variety, but you need to combine it with some level of whiff for me to feel good about it. And right now, he's not running a high whiff on pretty much anything. If I look at his whiff rates on his pitch types, almost a 30% whiff on his split last year and 22% on the sweeper, but everything's below 20% after that. His sinker has 9.9% whiff, and that's at sea level. So we'll see how they develop, what they tell him to throw or what he tries to throw, but I don't have a lot of confidence that this is going to go well. I like that the Rockies are trying, but I don't have a lot of confidence this is going well. Now, as for Quintana, my former teammate, it's funny because my reaction to Quintana getting signed there is like, okay, I actually kind of like it. Not to say he doesn't have a lot of the same issues. He does. 7th percentile K, 7th percentile whiff. He actually has too much walk. I do feel like he has a special amount of pitchability, and he's very good at wiggling around things, and he does get called strikes. So his pitching style has generally worked in situations where the models say it won't work. I've told this story before, but I was sitting in the Mets video room in spring training doing a little bit of early studying one day, and I was looking through the Mets metrics, breakdown on all the pitchers and their projections, and I was like, man, like some of your metrics hate some of my pitches. And I remember the analyst said, don't worry about that. Our metrics say Jose Quintana's a minor league pitcher, and he'll be starting opening day for us. So I was like, okay. So you got to take it with a little bit of a grain of salt. Happy for Q. He's still going. He's one of the most durable, consistent pitchers we've had in a really long time. But that being said, I think he's also going to have a little bit of a contact issue. He's going to be very nibbly in cores, and we'll have to wait and see how this plays out and whether these guys can adjust home and road all the time. So I don't know. I mean, I'm happy for Q. I'm happy for these guys. I do think it's nice that, again, like we talk about having adults in the rotation. Rockies now have some real adults in the rotation. Look at the rotation. It's major league quality at the minimum, not high end, but Freeland, who's been there forever. Lorenzen, who I really like that signing. We talked about variety of pitch mix. He's got a ton of pitches, which I like. Q, Verlander, who we're very fascinated to watch, and then Sugano. So look, if either of these guys pop, they are trade candidates. I think that's a possible way that this could be a good thing for them. But all that being said, I do think they're going to give up a ton of contact, and if the defense isn't stellar behind them, you could see some crooked numbers against these dudes. I think there's no question about that. Either way, it's exciting to watch the Rockies have some adults in the rotation, not a bunch of guys we don't know who they are, who are walking into the big leagues, into the hardest place to pitch, and have to figure it out on the fly. So gives their guys a little more time to develop, and they can bring them up slowly with some veterans to help them. But yeah, I still think this is a bottom of the barrel team in the big leagues, and I don't think these two pitchers move the needle in reality. I think, the one thing that they do well is they have good pitchability, but they're not getting a lot of whiffs, so it's a little scary. Saw someone on Twitter say they think the Rockies have a Stuff Plus spreadsheet, but haven't realized it's sorted from least to highest. Yeah, I mean, to your point, let's go back to my stuff. Let's go back to the Stuff Plus. So here's Quintana. And I love Q, but look at the Stuff Plus. I mean, he hasn't even been, there's no time on this chart where he was even close to league average Stuff Plus. He's down into the 85th, 15% worse than league average right now. Granted, he's always got great location. You see the location pluses are outstanding, and he leans into that. But that's a bad score. And then for Sugano, I bet you it's more of the same. Yeah, they got him as a 92 Stuff Plus. So for last season. So yeah, I mean, maybe they did invert their model or something. But we'll see. Let's wait and see what they're going to do. Putting below average stuff pitchers and cores is certainly an interesting decision. I mean, this was Sugano last year, 33 home runs in Baltimore. Sorry for joining us late. I think they should handle it now. I think that they probably thought this would take care of itself on its own. I think there was also I'm guessing there was some internal desire to try to play through it and make it to the WBC. Obviously, that's not happening. But now you have to really just you have to turn the page and get it fixed so he's not out the whole season. Quintana, a better pitcher over Sugano. I mean, in my opinion, throws with the goofy hand, which is important. And, I've seen this guy navigate really tough lineups, even in postseasons, just execution. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Okay. So that's the Rocky stuff. I don't think it takes them out of the basement, but, they made a couple moves. We'll take that. All right, what else was on this list today? Montgomery got signed. There was another signing here somewhere. IKF, did we talk about him? I think we did talk about him already last week. All right, Jordan Montgomery just signed with the Rangers. $1.25 million, one-year deal. Now, Monty didn't pitch last year, did he much? Yeah, he didn't pitch at all last year. But Monty's a good pitcher. This is a good gamble for them. Obviously, he was a postseason hero for them when they won the World Series in 23. And then the Arizona thing was a disaster. But I don't mind them signing Monty. It's a low risk, high reward type of signing. I thought Monty had gone to a super awesome level that year with Texas. So it was a little shocking to see him sort of struggle after that. But now he gets the reset year, and now he's back in the mix. And when he's healthy and ready to go, he can join this rotation. DeGrom, Evaldi, Mackenzie Gore, Leiter, and Latz. So little depth. And honestly, at that price, I think every team he makes sense for a lot of teams. So at that price, he's probably looking for the landing spot he wanted. That makes sense. The worst part of the Rockies rebuild is the farm is still bad and there's not a lot of help coming up soon. So that's the thing. They have to be good with their drafting. They cannot miss on their draft picks. They just can't. So we'll see how they go from here on. Quintana casually winning a clinching game against the Phillies. That's what I mean. Like, this guy knows how to do it. He can find his way through a lineup. Obviously, the degree of difficulty raises when you're pitching on the moon. Hold on. Maybe the plan is to let other teams run up the score so they'll throw in their own pitcher and will inflate the Rockies hitters' numbers. Genius. Nobody buys into inflated Rockies numbers anyway, but I hear you. Speaking of the Rockies, did you see on MLB Network last year Robert Flores had you on his all-time favorite Rockies team? I mean, he should be. Should be. I mean, not for nothing. I mean, I got an argument. I got a pretty good argument. Me and Brian Fuentes and a couple guys. I got a good argument for best reliever they've had. It's up there. So I'll take it. I'll take the love, though. Appreciate that. We talked about Jackson Holiday going down. Handmade bone gate is a big deal right now. Everybody going man down with the handmade bones. Not exactly fun. All right. What else we got? Slater to the Tigers. So we talked about the Tigers a little bit earlier, obviously with the signing of Verlander. Now they have a guy who mashes lefties, so he'll be a little bit of a platoon bat. I actually like the fit with the Tigers quite a bit because Kerry Carpenter can sometimes get pinch hit for left on left. Colt Keith, Riley Green, Zach McKinstry, Parker Meadows. These are all guys that a righty bat can go in there and do damage. So I like Slater's fit with this team quite a bit. He's not like a huge piece, but if you look at Slater over the years, he's banged pretty freaking hard versus lefties. Last year, he had a cup of coffee with the Yankees towards the end of the year, but was kind of hurt. Only played 14 games for them. He had been with the White Sox before that. But he's known as a guy who mashes lefties. So he's a nice fit when you're going to run the platoon game out there. Let's go look at his platoon splits. So yeah, versus lefties, he's got career 787 OPS. Versus righties, career 640. So 787 is pretty good. Pretty close to that 800 mark. So that's what they'll use him for. Tough lefties, Slater will be in there and give them some more options. I mean, Tigers are definitely armoring their team for a lot of different potential circumstances that could come up. And I mentioned how a lot of their better players are left-handed. So there's times where they can be a little exposed with a great lefty on the mound. Keith, Carpenter, Green, McKinstry, Meadows, etc. So we'll see. Yeah, Kerry Carpenter drafted 19th round and Skubal 9th round. I don't know if that's luck or skill, but pretty cool. I don't think I was ever given this award. It was kicked around a little bit on Reddit, and personally, it's sort of funny, but I do wish I had an all-star on my resume, and I think I deserved it twice. So it's a bummer, but if you're not a closer, you don't really get in, and so it's all right. It's all good. I just saw, okay, so there's some Mets talk because there was some questions about who's going to play short if Lindor is out at the beginning of the season. I just saw Stern say that Polanco would move to first with Beatty at third and Bo at shortstop. So they'll start the year with Bo at short. Interesting. I want him to get as many reps at third as possible because that's where he's going to spend most of his time. But I guess that's kind of what they have right now. You trade Luis Angel, he would have played a little more short, and Jet Williams too. Those are two possibilities to play behind Lindor. And you think Lindor is never going to do anything but play because that's what he does. But now we're in a situation where he might miss a few games. Hopefully it's not too long, so this isn't a huge spot they have to cover up defensively. Hope Alvey armors up more so he doesn't lose more playing time. Never liked him only wearing batting gloves at the plate. Yeah, I mean, honestly, because I've hit so many batters on the batting hand, like guys like that, it's a sinker riding in right on right, and they go to swing, and then they get scared, and it whacks them in the hand. That I always wonder why more guys don't wear the pad there. It just seems like you're exposed for an injury that's going to take you out for a half season or more. So, but a lot of guys are just uncomfortable with it. So at the end of the day, you got to have comfort, but I get it. I totally get it. And I know Mauricio can, in theory, play short, but I've never seen him play short. So I don't know how that would turn out. Did we already talk about the Mets signing Brian Hudson? Could be an X factor guy, in my opinion. I know he's got a weird arm angle. Is he going to be on the team? I mean, I think he's more of a depth play, and it's just like, yeah, they got him on the team. But he's a lefty with a weird arm angle. So that's good. Gives Mendy, a different angle to play with from a matchup perspective. It's just like, honestly, the way they run their bullpen, they're gonna want to shuffle a lot of these spots at the end. So it's hard to get too excited. Let me look at Hudson. .13-degree arm angle. Didn't stay on the field last year. I mean, 24 though, 1.73 ERA in 43 games. That's a hell of a run right there. And you wouldn't have thought with 13-degree arm angle he'd have that much extension. This is a small sample, but he doesn't. Obviously, when you're an east-west guy like this, your game is weak contact. That's what we're seeing. Too many walks last season, but that's obviously hard to judge him on. Let's look at 24 when he dominated. What did he do good? Actually had more punchies than I realized. With the classic east-west four-seam cutter sweeper approach, everything tunneled well there. Weird that he throws the four-seam and not the sinker from that angle, but, again, build out your bullpen, create every angle, give him opportunity. There's a little bit of Minter insurance. 6'8", 248 on the size here. My God. 6'8", 248? I don't know. I've never really noticed, but that's a monster. Let's just watch a pitch just to see this monster on the mound.
Fly ball, right center field. Frelick on the chase after this one, out near the wall again, and he leaps up in front of the wall this time.
Let's see a cutter. Yeah, he's not transferring his energy very well, but that's a large man. That's probably why the extension's so big. Just a regular stride from a large guy like this is going to produce a pretty far out there release point. There's the sweeper. So Mets are leaning in a little bit to having some uniqueness in that pen, which I like. For sure. Speaking of hitting batters' hands, did anyone ever charge them out on me? No, it was a bucket list, but it never happened. Obviously, I didn't want the wrong guy to charge them out and kill me, but I kind of wanted somebody to come at some point just to say it happened, see what happens. I'm not scared of getting beaten up too bad. This was just so poo-pooed when I was young. I was liked hitting, but I was like coached out of being a hitter pretty young age, like junior year of high school. People were like, "You're just wasting your time hitting. You should be pitching." Like they always make you decide anyway, so just go pitch. So I don't know if I would have been good enough to be a two-way guy, but I used to like playing all the positions in baseball. And when you're just a pitcher, sometimes it's a little lame when you've been hitting your whole life. Not as much fun as you'd like to have. So I think that's a thing. What does 91 play with at that extension? Probably like 93. So it gets in there a little bit more. But nothing crazy. What's funny is a lot of analysts don't even care about extension. I do. They only care about it as it affects your approach angle. But I do care. I think if you throw slow, it really helps if you have extension, so it plays a little different. I've never heard of the handmade bone until Lindor. Now Corbin. Yeah, and Jackson Holiday. It's very common for hitters. It is weird that all this news, handmade news, dropped on one day, but very common. Get it fixed. Come back. Deal with a little bit of pain. Should be all right. You're a big dude. I don't think you would have got clobbered. I don't think I would have either. But again, there's some guys out there that are scary. I always say Puig. I never wanted Puig to charge the mound, but it would have been fun in general, just as a bucket list thing, to say it happened and that somebody did come out there to try to come after me. It would be a good story at least. We'd have a good video to watch at least, but we don't have anything like that. Got yelled at a little bit, but I don't know. People were scared of me or something. Good idea. Someone said that this is why the O's traded for Blaze Alexander. Well, yeah, I mean, it's another ball player for the Orioles. And knowing that Jackson might be out, he could maybe fill in. Blaze is an infielder and outfielder. Yeah, they have him penciled in at second right now as the replacement for Jackson. So maybe this had something to do with that trade where it looked like they gave up too much on the pitching side. But I don't know. I mean, it is sometimes you wonder, why did certain moves get made, and then you come and you get more information later. That could be a situation like that. You could have charged the dugout like Amir Garrett. Have you seen Amir Garrett? Amir Garrett is large and scary and definitely been in some real fights, so he was ready. I'm not charging a whole team, though. That's pretty wild. What else we got here in the chat? Has Bassett signed? No. I would expect he'll sign fairly soon. He's definitely one of the top guys remaining. I'd like to see him get with a contender. I feel like the Braves would be a decent fit, especially with Schwellenbach getting hurt. That's another one we need to talk about real quick. Schwellenbach goes man down, 60-day IL. A little bit of an ominous situation there. And he's so good. He's one of my favorites. But now this brings them back into that Grant Holmes, Bryce Elder back of the rotation. Or more good than great. Also, Lopez coming back off injury. Who knows? Strider, is he the real Strider? So now you got to worry a little bit about the Braves again. Schwellenbach, to me, really raised their ceiling quite a bit. I think a Giolito or a Bassett or a Littell makes a lot of sense with the Braves. They have dreams of winning this NL East, and it's not going to be easy, and I don't think this starting rotation is great. I don't think this is great at all. Bone spurs after breaking his elbow. Yeah, what does he have? Does he have like the his olecranon fracture or stress fracture? Let's see what it says. Schwellenbach details that he felt strong throughout the offseason and had thrown off a mound 4 or 5 times without issue before experiencing discomfort right at the end of a 20-pitch bullpen session 10 days ago. Since undergone imaging that led to this diagnosis, which is inflammation in his right elbow, but he might require arthroscopic surgery. Nothing is scheduled yet. Not a good sign. I'm worried that you're going to not see this guy at all this year. They don't know how they're going to attack it yet, so that makes me nervous. But, man, he's so good when he's out there. That sucks. That really sucks for the Braves. Do the Braves have any pitching prospects? So Waldrop was the guy who came up and did well last year. I'm surprised he's not listed on their in their rotation right now. Let me look at their Hurston Waldrop, who actually pitched great. Didier Fuentes still super young. He had a little bit of big league time. Jose Suarez, who's been around Angels, some other teams. He's depth. And then I don't know about Giancarlos Lara at all, but let me go look at their prospect list. Atalanta Braves. So Cam Caminiti is the big one, but he's young. He's still a ways away in A-ball. J.R. Ritchie, AAA 22-year-old. 55 slider, 55 fastball, 50 changeup, 50 control. Overall 55. That's a solid grade on this guy, J.R. Ritchie. And he did indeed make it to AAA, making 11 starts at the level last year. 11 starts with 3.02. That's very impressive. More than a strikeout in an inning. Very under control whip, walk rate. Ticked up a little bit in AAA, but it's not horrible. And all in all in the season, he made 26 starts and went from A all the way through AAA with a 264 and 140 innings. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. What's this dude's name again? J.R. Ritchie? Trying to click on video here. Let's get some J.R. Ritchie video here going after the ad. Yep, J.R. Ritchie could debut this year. So it looks like he's probably pretty poised to. This is also true. Patrick Sandoval, Cutter Crawford. I wonder how gettable these guys are from Boston. They've traded away from a lot of their depth already, but that doesn't mean that they can't get these guys back either. All right, here's J.R. Ritchie. Let's get a little look. 95 on that fastball. There's a curveball. Nice little breaking ball there. Sitting 94, 95 with the fastball. So he has the potential to go ahead and affect this club. Who else? Briggs McKenzie is way back in A-ball. He's not going to be in here anytime soon. Didier Fuentes, we talked about, super young guy. He did come up in the big leagues last year already and pitch a little bit. It did not go great in the Grandes. 13.85 ERA in 13 innings. In the minors, he was pretty good at Gwinnett, 363 and 22 and a third, but didn't pitch a ton in the minors, only 57 innings. So I don't know. Owen Murphy is another guy. He's an A-ball. Blake Burkhalter is a possible guy. He gets a 45 grade with a pretty good fastball. So they have some more guys, of course. But Schwellenbach, make no mistake about it, Schwellenbach is one of the better pitchers in the show. So I feel like this was a huge, huge loss for them. And they lose one of their Spencers. I mean, this was what we were looking at with Schwelly before the injury. I mean, he was dominant in 24, and then he was even more dominant last year. 3.09, 17 starts, and a sub-1 whip. So this is going to hurt the Braves big time. And the question is, do they sign a veteran, or do they try to rely on what they have, in that rotation right now, which, like I've mentioned, is not really that. There's a lot of question marks. Strider, who is he going to be this year as he bounces back? Lopez, injury last year. How's he going to look? And Holmes and Elder, we know, are good, but not necessarily elite. So it's a problem. You need starting pitching, especially in the NL East. I've largely picked this team to really respond and bounce back this year, but this injury was a big one. This injury hurts a lot. I expect them to do something. I bet you they sign a Bassett pretty quickly, or Giolito, or a Littell. I bet that happens. And then, Sale has I wouldn't say he always gets hurt, but he has been hurt at times recently. Huge loss is Sean Murphy needing offseason hip surgery and doesn't currently have a return date. Yeah, I mean, I know they got Drake Baldwin, who's the catcher right now, and since he was, rookie of the year, they feel covered at catcher, but Murphy's an elite catcher, so they'd like to have him back. Still look at the lineup, still really good. Acuna, Oli, Profar, Baldwin, Riley, Yastrzemski, who's an interesting signing, Albies, Harris, who, if he can bounce back, I mean, at one point I thought he was awesome. And then Dubon, I mean, they've already had the bad injury bug with Ha-Seong Kim getting hurt as well, so haven't got off to a great start with some of their key pieces. But I still always hesitate to count the Braves out. I know they had a bad year last year, but I have PTSD from how good they've been in my career. The Strider velo drop is concerning, 100%. 100%. And really the shape on the fastball and everything. And, one of the things about Spencer Strider was he was a stuff guy when he was dominant. It was an incredible combination of an overpowering fastball with great approach angle and a slider off of that. And there really wasn't a whole lot else going on, and nobody could really mess with that. I mean, you go look back at 20-and-5, 281 strikeouts and 186 and 2/3. So the models had him, I think, at the time as like the number one fantasy starting pitcher. But this is what I talk about a little bit. When you're completely reliant on stuff and you're outstuffing the league, what happens when your stuff comes back to planet Earth a little bit? It's a challenge. And Strider learned that last year. 445 and 23 starts. And honestly, it could have been a lot worse with that 1-4 whip. Still manages more than a strikeout an inning. So, it's the ability's in there, and it's not far off, but it's a big drop-off in terms of the velocity. 95.5 average last year with 16.4 inches of rise. Let's go compare that to 24, where he was at 17.3 inches of rise, and this is only in a small sample where he got hurt, so really we should compare him to 23 when he was awesome. 18.4 inches of rise, plus 97.2. So you're talking velocity has dropped, shape has regressed, and that's a big deal when you're a guy who pitches off the fastball and everybody has to chase that speed all the time. We don't know what type of guy he's going to show up as this year. We have no idea. But if he's going to go ahead and regain his status as one of the premier stuff pitchers in the league, he's got a long way to go. Last year, he actually was under league average in stuff plus, 96 stuff plus overall. And really, you see the fastball. He had been a way over league average fastball in terms of stuff prior to last year. And now he's under under league average quite a bit. That's really scary. And it does make me kind of want to agree with Crispy here. Strider has to be one of the most overrated pitchers in MLB. I don't get how people had him in Cy Young conversations the year he had 386. It's because of the strikeouts. And in the modern era, if you look at his Fangraphs numbers, he was probably one of the most valuable guys based on just his K to walk percentage and metrics like that. But I always feel like he's had a trouble managing contact and really understanding how to do anything but strikeout guys out. And it's great when you're young. But now that the stuff has regressed, this is kind of a big question mark coming into this year. You're really expecting him to be the real deal, and we're not sure what version we're getting. So we're going to have to watch him in spring training and see what the shapes look like and what the velo looks like and what version we're getting. Braves GM Alex Anthopoulos might dip into the starting pitching. That's what I think. So I think Bassett, Giolito, Littell, somebody like that could make a lot of sense. I know there's like other guys too, Tyler Anderson, etc. Yeah, Quintana signed with the Rockies Biscuits, which we thought was sketchy at best, but I love Q. His rise was unhittable, and now it's flat. Totally agree. Totally agree. Using expected stats for awards is dumb. Totally agree. Totally agree. You want to use expected stats and projections to go ahead and like build your team out for the future? Understood. But in terms of grading a person's performance, you got to look at actual results. Like we need to get out of this fantasy world of what should have happened. Like what actually happened is what actually happened. So in terms of judging results, we should only judge them off of the actual results. I agree with that. 99 should really only be worn by Gretzky and Judge. It's an interesting little hot take there. Strider thinks he's Wild Thing, I guess, a little bit. It's only 27 years, so plenty of time for him to figure it out. And this guy's one of the smartest pitchers out there, so he should figure it out. But he needs to either become a new pitcher altogether or he needs to regain his shit. Both are easier said than done. So I'm curious to see which route he takes and how it goes. I'm rooting for him because I do like watching his electricity when it's right. Even though I was on the Mets, I didn't like it so much, but I don't know if it's ever going to be quite the same. It does seem like some things have shifted, and he wasn't able to recoup it all of last year, which is a little sketchy. The fact that Fangraphs pitching war is based on FIP is dumb. Agreed. It's imaginary stats. It's not real, and so it rubs me the wrong way. I get FIP is a nice thing to look at, but I agree with you. I'm more of a B-War guy, to be honest. Okay, so that's a good amount of talk about the Braves. Man, I have so many tabs open here, I don't even know what to do. Let me just start closing a few things real quick. Rosie, did the dog come back in? Okay, she's good? Okay. I know that they did a whole Zips like projections for the leagues. These are all players. Yeah, whatever. Team WAR totals projected. Man, look at the Dodgers. 57.3 WAR projected on this. Phillies, Blue Jays, Yankees, Mariners, Brewers, Cubs, Red Sox, Tigers, Padres, Mets. Wow. I don't know. All the projection stuff is interesting to at least look at, see what it spits out. But anyway. All right, here we go. Building up arm by a pitcher should be gradual. AO, what do you think of ramping up fast for WBC? You don't necessarily ramp up fast. You just start a little earlier, which I think is fine. Most guys stay throwing throughout the offseason, which is the mistake I made this year and why I've had a hard time getting ready for WBC. Is like once you shut it down, it's so hard to get it back going, right? Things happen. You're not in the same groove anymore with that shoulder. The way your scap gets its posterior tilt kind of in a smooth, buttery fashion starts to go away. So you just start earlier. That's what I did for WBC, and it was no problem. It was all good. I mean, honestly, I don't worry that much about the pitcher risk for WBC if the guy knows what he's doing. Now, it might be smart to get with the guy ahead of time, especially if you're the paying team, the guy who has the guy under contract, and say, hey, we're going to do this the proper way. We're going to make sure you're ready to go. But as long as everything's done properly with enough gradual build up to your point here, Kev, I think it's fine. Daniel's onto it. If Lindor could play WBC, would he with this hand problem, or would he have noticed? So this is a very tough question to answer because I don't have. I mean, this news just came out now. We don't know what the communication between Francisco and the Mets was this offseason. We don't know whether he'd be tempted to just say, screw it, I'm playing and deal with this later or whatever. But it is important that this came to light now, because if the Mets have high hopes this year, of course, and if they're going to have high hopes, they're going to need Lindor on the field. And if you're going to be hurt, might as well be now, because there's no games for another 6 weeks. So let's get it fixed now. If the WBC was in the way, trust me, his heartstrings would be pulling him that direction. Who knows what the final choice would have been? But it adds another variable in there that, I think for Mets fans, at least, you don't have to worry about that now. Generally, I don't worry about WBC too much, but in this situation, yeah, you don't want a guy playing with basically a fractured hamate bone or stress reaction in his hamate bone when he could be getting it healed up and then have that linger into your season where you're paying him a lot of money and you have big expectations. So I think that's true. All right, what else we got here? In walk percentage, what is a pitcher's acceptable range? I always felt like if it depends on your stuff, on your level of stuff. But I've always felt like you want to be league average or better in walk rate. It's hard to succeed with a below league average walk rate unless you're maybe a relief pitcher and you can offset it with a huge strikeout rate. Now, I remember back in the day when I was trying to improve in the big leagues, and I would go look at very basic stuff at the beginning before we were getting into pitch shapes and different adjustments that I needed to make. I would just go ahead and I would do something like this. I would go to leaders, pitching leaders, and I would just go look at the best pitchers in the game. And I would take a look at, now these aren't percentages. These are Ks per nine, walks per nine. Obviously, we prefer percentages. And I could go look at that based on advanced stats if I want to. But a couple things are just on a very basic fundamental level required for you to have success in the big leagues, right? You have to have some combination of strikeouts. So me and Scott Oberg used to say that one strikeout per inning is the quota. You got to at least hit the quota, one strikeout per inning. And obviously the higher above that gives you more leeway in these two other areas that I'm about to talk about. Second one is how hittable are you? You got to be below a hit per inning. And if you're not, you have to offset that with absolutely no walks and then those strikeouts we talked about. So the dynamic that I'm talking about is how hittable are you? So hits, how much do you walk people? Walks, and how many guys do you strike out? Because the more guys you strike out, the more you can pitch around base runners, the more you can get out of jams. Obviously, we can talk about damage as well, expected slug, home runs, your profile in that way. But if you're not going to have low walks, you better have low hits. If you're not going to have low hits, you better have low walks. So on a very basic level, you go look at the best pitchers in the game. These are all the guys that graded the highest on Fangraphs. Of course, now we're talking fake stats again. But again, it holds true. Walk rate, walks per nine. You don't see anybody in this list that's over 4 walks per nine until you get down to Jose Soriano. And what does Jose Soriano do? He throws so many sinkers and keeps the ball in the ballpark that he can offset his high level of walks a little bit. He doesn't have a ton of strikeouts, but now the damage thing really helps him. But nobody in the top 30 has anything higher than 4 walks per nine. Most of them are in the 2s and in the 1s, to be honest with you. There's a few in the 3s, but those guys usually have huge strikeout numbers. Hey, Bubba, you want to come sit with me? You want to come up? You want to come say hi? I got you. Up, up, up. We got the puppy. We got the puppy. We got the puppy. You want to say hi to everybody, Daisy? Hi. Hi. I love you. You want to go play? Okay. You go play. So yeah, it's just on a very basic level. And as a reliever, you really have a little bit more of a choice. I mean, Chris Perez, who was a guy that I came up, he was a closer, all-star closer for the Indians. You might have remembered he kind of messed up a little bit and shit talked his way out of the league. But he would say, as me as a reliever, like when he was talking about himself, he would say, "I don't care if I give up walks. I'm not giving up any hits." So that was the side of it he was on. Like, I'll walk you, but I'm going to be electric and not give up any hits. And you see that with some electric relief pitchers. Like if I go to the top relief pitchers, you'll see some guys with some higher walk rates in here. Like even Mason Miller is over 4 walks per 9, but he's offsetting it with 15 punch outs per 9. Munoz, same deal. Brendan Little, 5.93, so that's a little bit too high. But it remains true. It's a very basic level. Like just don't walk guys, strike out as many as you can, and then you can allow some hits. But if you are not allowing hits, now you can allow a few more walks. So it's a little bit of a sliding scale, and I think that's pretty straightforward. So again, in terms of percentages, I would say you want to be below league average, which is usually like, I don't know, 8-9%. Anybody who's below that, you feel pretty good about it. Like for example, DeGrom's at 5.5%. You're just not beating yourself a lot when you have a low walk rate. So ultimately, it's one of the best things you can do. Throw the ball over the plate and make them earn it. Make them earn it. At least that's what the Rockies are thinking with Sugano. Of course, he has the trouble with the hits part, lack of strikeout part, and the damage part. So it's a balance. But if you're a guy without great stuff, you cannot afford to have too many walks. That's just a fact. Yeah, she is. She's getting big. She's getting big. She was gone with the trainer for a while, but now she's back, and she's awesome. Speaking of projections, I am projected for 31 innings and 31 Ks this year. Okay. Could this have been what the medical showed that didn't pass him for insurance? No, it had nothing to do with this. It was just like he already had the elbow cleanup. I mean, he hadn't even had his physical yet. So you're going off of where the players were at the close of last season and then whatever was updated during the offseason. But I don't think this had anything to do with it. I think a lot of it was just he's making so much money. So ultimately the premium was huge on Lindor. And, they just weren't willing to cover it. If the Mets knew ahead of time of the Lindor injury, perhaps Stearns may have not traded Acuna or Jet. I mean, it's possible, very possible that could have been a factor. But I don't know for a fact. Obviously, the Lindor injury sucks, but knowing he wouldn't be able to play in WC makes me feel a little better. I feel a little better about it now because now I'm very confident that they're doing the right thing, kind of shutting him down and getting him healthy, and then he can go play for the Mets. If it's a situation where this would have taken him out of the WBC anyway, then that makes me even more happy about it. Like it's a lot cleaner that way, and it's not as big of a disaster. But at the same time, I know he really wanted to play, and I'm wondering if he would have tried to play through this, and now we don't have to worry about all that messiness. I love my Mets, but they could mess up a cup of coffee. We're like the Jets of MLB. Well, same old Mets, same old Jets. Although, Mets are in a much better spot, so we'll see. Tons of repetitions. It takes command and because this was a question about how could Wakefield and R.A. Dickey command the knuckleball so well. I mean, it's a rare thing, to Mitch's point. Tons of years of practice and all those types of things allow you to throw that little dancing butterfly over the plate. Most guys can't do it, and that's why they never make it to the highest level, even if they have a good one. Oh, you guys are almost at ballet. Congrats, and Brad wants a shout out. Hey, Brad, love you. Have a great rehearsal today. Big show coming up in tomorrow. So have fun at your dress rehearsal today, my love. I assume Lindor hurt himself the last couple days hitting. Well, that's not what the report was. The report was that this had been bothering him towards the end of last season. So I think this is more of just like, there's some weakness in that hand and that hamate. It probably hurt during the recent ramp up, and that's when they're finally having to be actionable with it. But it didn't just come out of nowhere. They knew that this was a possibility. They just assumed it would heal up. I'm honestly surprising it didn't heal up, to be honest. Oh, you guys are belting out Greatest Showman. Love, one of the best. Obviously, I know all the words to that. And I miss you guys. What Mets are going to WBC besides Nolan? I think I kind of know him. Let me just go and look at the Mets roster, and then I can kind of clear my head for a second. All right, so Soto's going to play for DR. Bichette's not playing for Brazil. His brother is. Polanco, I don't think, made the DR roster. Semion's not playing. Beatty's not playing. Alvy's not playing, I don't think, for Venezuela, which sucks. Robert's not playing for Cuba. Benj is not playing. Vientos is playing for Nicaragua. Mauricio, no. Tyrone, no. McLean for US. Freddie Peralta, is Freddie playing for DR? Was that announced? I think he's not. Clay Holmes is on the US roster as well. I don't think Kodai is on the Japanese roster. None of the relievers except for Brazaban's on the DR roster, so he's another one. And that's it. That's it. Maybe there's some prospects. I know Nick Morabito's on the Italian team. Maya's got it. McLean, Holmes, Vientos, Soto, Brazaban. Yeah, I think those are the answers. Yeah, and Freddie's out. He's not playing for DR. That's too bad. So here's the info from Maya. She's on it, of course. Stern said the hand has been bothering him off and on for years. Eventually, it reaches a tipping point, and you want to get that out of there. I mean, shit, if you could get him with a hand that doesn't hurt, maybe he's an even better player. So we'll see. Why is Daisy barking? I don't know, but we just gave her some more food. She was in here, but she didn't want to stay in my lap, I don't think. So she had a nap recently, and then just recently woke up. Yeah, Morabito's on that Italian team. You have no idea who Carson Benj is. He's the Mets' biggest prospect now. Outfielder, was drafted just last year, or maybe it was 2 years ago, but really recently. And they're saying he's already going to have a shot to make the big league team. So we're excited to watch that. If you watch this, you'll watch more about this stuff. Robert Stock, Team Israel. I have some good buddies on Team Israel between Stock, Matt Bowman, Tommy Canley, a bunch of guys. That's going to be a fun squad to watch. Robert Stock, I won't put it up here today because I don't have the link right now, but he's made his own analytical website. I'm hoping to talk to him about it soon. Maybe I'll bring him on and talk to him about it, called the Stockyard, if you want to go watch at it. He has metrics, projections, all sorts of cool stuff. Very cool. Well, very well done. Looks great on the phone. But I'm hoping to ask him some technical questions because I've been vibe coding myself, and clearly he's made it a little bit further than me. Daisy. Late to join today, but I see that we've been talking about hamate injuries. Yeah, obviously the big three hamate injuries this year. Lindor, well, today they got announced. Lindor, Holiday, and Corbin Carroll. It's a big deal. If you could redo, would you draft Benj or you Savage? That's a tough choice. I need to see Benj play a little bit. If you can get a great everyday player, though, generally that trumps the pitcher. But at the same time, I don't know. I haven't watched him play enough to have a great opinion on that yet. And watching his swing, I'm not 100% sold on it yet. I think he'll make adjustments, but as it currently stands, like I much prefer Connor Griffin's swing and some of the other shorter strokes we've seen. Benj's got a lot of rhythm, a lot of movement, which could be fine. We've seen guys get away with it, but I want to see it with my own eyes before I know. Daisy woke up and heard about Lindor, started barking. That's true. Bader also with Team Israel, so that's great. I noticed that the Italians bought out all the jerseys from MLB's stock already. Wow, that's awesome. We ordered a couple for a couple out of number zeros, which I'm pumped that they're giving me number 0. I thought Canzone might beat me out, but I guess they respected the service time there, so pretty cool. Question this year: Who wins the NL Cy Young? I mean, you got to say Skeens is the leader in the clubhouse, right? Going to be hard to chase them down. Of course, it's not written in stone. A lot of other great pitchers in the National League. Christopher Sanchez. I mean, if Sale can stay healthy, obviously all the dudes on the Dodgers. Yamamoto's always got a puncher's shot at this. Or, I mean, Snell's probably not going to pitch enough innings to compete with Skeens. Hunter Green is a guy that pops. I mean, and then obviously there's always a possibility McLean is that guy already. So those are kind of my answers. And I guess we'll have to wait and see. You're going to watch the Israel team versus the Mets. That's awesome. And I love that they play the Mets. Mets are obviously the most Jewish team in baseball. Most Jewish fans. And generally, some great Jewish baseball followers are Mets fans. So it's nice that they're playing them in WBC. Do you think there should be a limit on the amount of heritage players per WBC team? I think Israel's 100% Americans, maybe should have like 10% from the home country. I do think that this is a little bit of an issue. Heritage, I mean, this is how you do create these teams in a lot of ways. I mean, Italy, I'm part of a team that's mostly American as well. That's not representing America. But I do think it can get a little out of hand. And in Israel's situation, like their eligibility requirements are a little different than some of the other teams. Like you could have a wife who's Jewish and somehow make it on the team. Doesn't necessarily seem right to me, but I haven't thought about this a lot and haven't looked at the ins and outs of all of this to give an educated answer on it. So I'm not gonna. Good question though. McLean Rookie of the Year. Mike Joseph. Adam, if you were a betting man, what % chance you give McLean to win the Cy Young? Cy Young, I give him a less than a 5% chance still, but not a 0% chance. A lot better. I put him in the top 15, 10 guys that have a shot at it, but I wouldn't give him a high. Rookie of the Year, very high. Rookie of the Year, I give him a 50% chance. He's that good. He's really that good. Every time I see Hunter Green, I think, oh yeah, he's winning a Cy. I agree. Hunter Green's definitely in the mix for sure. The Mets are the most Jewish team in baseball. Thank you very much. Told you. I mean, Yankees fans might get mad about that too, maybe, but they are the most Jewish team, no doubt. Chase Burns could be a potential Rookie of the Year contender. I would say it's probably a little early for Cy Young, but he's got great stuff, so we'll see how that plays out. Yankees as well. Obviously, in New York, you're gonna get some Jewish people coming through. AO throwing a Kyle Teal for Team Italy is awesome. Very much looking forward to that happening. Hope that happens. What gets Peralta signed? I don't really have a lot of idea about what gets Peralta signed at this point. He'll be an interesting free agent. He did leave a lot of money on the table signing that first extension. I know Stern signed it to him in Milwaukee, and like that's why he's only making like $8 million a year right now. But you look at the consistency of these numbers and the durability, particularly over the last 3 seasons, and it makes you think he is in line for a really nice long-term contract, and he might not want to sell himself short. I don't know what the numbers for the extension would look like, and I'm not sure how willing he'll be. It's hard to read that individually. Very hard to read that. And as good as he is, last year was really the first huge WAR year. 5.5 WAR last year. He's going to be a nice age to be a free agent. I don't know. 5-year deal incoming. Maybe to get the extension done, you have to push to 6. I don't know how he feels about his first extension, if that informs his choice of how to approach this next bite at the apple. Not really sure. I mean, the fact that these were his salaries, $8 million right now. I mean, he'd be making closer to $30 million had he been on the open market after last season. So he's way underpaid, and we'll see what that means in terms of what he tries to go for. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Pretty sure Italy will have 10%, 3 Italian natives on roster of 30. Yeah, there are a few. Aldegari, and then there's 2 guys that are from the Italian league that are on the roster. Not sure Burns still qualifies as a rookie. Yeah, I haven't looked into that yet either. It's a good point. Unclear there. I don't see Burns jumping into the Cy Young race this quickly. I like him, but Cy Young, you got to be top of the top. You really do. You got to do it all. So I don't know if he's ready to do it all yet. It's a lot. All right, what else we got here? I love all the who's the most Jewish team in the chat stuff going on. Conabel Peralta is not going into 7 innings, but Mets got to extend him after losing 2 top rookies. Who wins NL MVP this year? I mean, is it anybody but Shohei? I mean, it's so hard to imagine anybody but Shohei winning at this point. He's going to do some pitching. He's going to do some great hitting, obviously. Just feels like this is his award until he lets, whoever he's got in a chokehold off the mat, basically. Joe Jimenez placed on IL, bad knee. Is this still the Braves? Should still be the Braves, right? So here's the Corbin Carroll, Jackson Holiday, Joe Jimenez, injury, news. Braves reveal more injury woes with Joe Jimenez update and a surprise trade. He got additional surgery on a bad knee as a pitcher. That landing knee is very important when you land, to be stable on it, to be able to rotate around and over that leg. If it's the right knee, people would think, oh, push off, but you don't really want to push off with your back leg as much as we thought when we were younger. And then the Braves also acquired Brett Wisely, who they had just traded a month ago from the Rays. So they trade him and then they buy him back. This sucks for Joe Jimenez and the Braves, though. He's been a pretty good pitcher the last little stretch that he's been on the roster for, but now, he can't contribute in their bullpen, which sucks. So Brett Wisely now is another backup option for the Braves offensively. He's listed in their infield, outfield. Okay. Anthopoulos knows what he wants and he just goes for it. So we'll see. But Joe Jimenez being out, that sucks. Their bullpen would have looked really good with him in there. Got to get that knee right. I wonder what it is. Patella. Give me a call, Joe. I have some thoughts. Gotta know what you're dealing with. I know what you're thinking. All right, what else we got here? If I was Peralta, I would take the extension with the uncertainty of 27. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with this CBA. Did you guys listen at all to Boris talk yesterday on Foul Territory? I thought it was a really, really interesting interview. Obviously, he's got his own, of course, interests at heart, of course. But, the thing that he talked about the media rights deal and how the NBA's media rights deal kind of exposing MLB not capturing their full value of their deal. To me, that actually rang quite true, honestly. There's no reason MLB should not be able to get the same amount of media dollars coming in as NBA. We have double the inventory of games. We control, as a sport, we have much better access to certain markets, Japan, Canada, all of Latin America. The ratings are actually better than the NBA. So I guess a lot of it is that we have regional packaging to sell instead of the entire league in one fell swoop. So I think that is an issue. And if you could create more revenue, that might create less labor issues, right? More money to go around. Maybe you create a little bit of a less of a labor strike. So, I never had Boris. I mean, I had him maybe initially at the beginning before the draft. I wouldn't consider myself really having him because he wasn't even with me from the draft. But a lot of what he said when it came to revenues and how to grow the game and how to fix some of the issues, I think was right, man. I really do. I think the league could be doing a lot better from a revenue perspective in terms of the media rights, especially. So I thought that was interesting, commentary that he made yesterday. And I tend to agree with him. I'd like to see that get reworked because I know Fox's deal is coming up this year and maybe TBS. So they're going to have opportunity to sell more rights, but they got to be able to really extract the full amount of money that's, measured up to the real value of what MLB is providing right now. Because I think it's pretty damn good and pretty damn valuable, and it should be paid out as such. I wonder if any of you guys are in here. The NBA is also, for what it's worth, is awful with accessibility. That's how I feel. He did. He was spitting. I thought the questions were terrible. I thought AJ and Kratzy just did a horrible job talking to him personally, but I thought he did a great job handling their questions, and what he came with on the other end was great. When Scott Braun got to talk, I thought his questions were good and pointed, and I love Scott. And I don't mind AJ or Kratzy, but I mean, they're just asking questions they know he's not going to ask. And if I had an opportunity with Scott, I'd be asking him some other stuff for sure. Well, here's something about Rodon. Rodon is healing good, apparently. Boone says she'll be back late April. Huge. Yankees upside all stems from this rotation dominance if they can get these guys all clicking, healthy and clicking. And what I'm talking about is a big four, plus if Weathers pops. The big four would be Fried, Rodon, Cole, Schlittler. Love that. Got to get these dudes back. Clark Schmidt comes back later. I think Luis Heal's having a much better offseason when I talked to Booney as well. Straighten some things out with him, so we might see his stuff take an upturn here. Yankees are feeling good about their pitching, but of course you want to get Cole and Rodon. And Carlos was great last year. Get Rodon back healthy and get him back in there. And I love the dynamic of him and Fried with the two lefties back in there. They need to get Carlos healthy. He was great last year, man. He was truly one of the best last year. 3.09 ERA and 33 starts. And you got to give him so much credit from bouncing back from that initial run through the Bronx, which would have killed most guys. They would have never been able to figure that out, but he did. So big credit to Carlos. He's such a dog, and I love him. All right, we'll keep moving here. The NBA and MLB are on the same level of needing to potentially sign up for a bunch of things to watch. Yeah, I don't like that. I mean, this is something that's bothered me a lot. We don't get to just like turn on the TV anymore and flip through the sports channels and find everything. Now it's sign up for this, sign up for that, subscribe to this, subscribe to that. And then I'm constantly doing this shit all day long. My kids are like, oh, can you sign me back into this app? And I got to go on the barcode. And like, it's just annoying. I don't like it. Make it more convenient. It makes me think that we are going to eventually roll everything back up again. So it's like we take it apart, we think we want a la carte, and then we're like, no, we want convenience, roll it all up together, and I bet that will happen. But to me, NBA and MLB are on a similar level, global popularity, but I think like they have bigger stars maybe, more famous players, but I think MLB from a rights perspective has more to offer. It's literally double the inventory, and we own huge markets that other sports don't own. Japan, Canada, all of Latin America, like that's important, especially as we're moving into a time where everything is so globally televised. And I just think that they could do better, and maybe they will do better this next run through, but more revenue would be better for everybody. Baseball not being a countrywide and more of a regional sport is the issue. So that's what he was saying too, because they can bundle everything as one. That's a little more attractive to some of these partners, but the regional thing is a mess. Now, right now, Manfred and HQ are really... They're headed towards this. I mean, you saw what happened with, what is it, Main Street Sports and all those companies that have gone under, and now MLB is pooling all those rights. What that means right now is they're probably paying out less money for those rights to all those clubs, so they are getting less money right now. But once they bundle everything together, I bet you there'll be a fat price that comes associated with grabbing that all in one bundle. So we'll see. So we will see how that goes. I got big leagued by the CEO, so I'm back. When do you leave for WBC? So I'm trying to get to Port Charlotte in about somewhere between 10 and 15 days from now. So I can go throw down there at this Italian mini camp for 4 or 5 days outdoors in my cleats. Since I don't do that here, I go throw on a turf field or whatever, and so indoors. And then from there, we have to report to Arizona March 1st. So that's the idea. Another 15 days here or so. Couple days down in Florida, head to Arizona. Get Boris on the show then. Well, maybe someday. I just thought their questions were kind of weak sauce. Netflix takes over the home run derby. So Netflix is weird. Like, obviously, I know a lot about these network rights, trying to get broadcasting jobs to all these places. Netflix is weird because, like, yeah, they have MLB rights, but it's just 3 days, 3 events. Opening day with the Yankees game, as it mentions here. They have the Field of Dreams game, and they have the home run derby. So it's 3 days. So it's cool that they're going to be on Netflix. Plus, Netflix has the rights to those Japanese WBC rights. But I think, it's going to be interesting. Blackouts are also annoying. I don't understand blackouts. I just think it's always better to have more people watching your product. Why would you restrict people who love your product from your product? I guess you want them to go to the stadium and you think that's going to make them buy tickets. I don't think that really works. I don't think that's an apples and oranges situation. Well, I think it is an apples and oranges situation. I don't think it's that simple. Like, oh, I can't watch the game. Gee, I'm going to go buy a ticket. I don't think that works. Okay. Yeah, I will try to get him on at some point in the future. But I did love the fact that they got him on the show yesterday, despite the fact that I don't always love the questions. I mean, Boris, I thought did a great job. I mean, he's great TV to watch, and as he mentioned yesterday, 45 years into this, he's got quite a bit of experience. So it's pretty cool. MLB.TV is awesome, but just don't live in the city of the team you're trying to watch. What's funny is I have a jailbroken version of MLB.TV because I was a player, so I don't get blacked out, and I need that to never go away. This is what I miss.